YouTube! My name is Sophie Hallimons and I am Sophie Halifat. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about my binge eating story, how I started binge eating and where I am now with it. I'm going to talk about when I was a kid, how I became to be overweight. Then I'll talk about when I started binge eating, like how that actually happened from year 12 and then through to uni. And then sort of how I've been dealing with it, like how from when I became a mum and how that affected the binge eating, and then of course just where I am now. It has been 10 months since I last binged. I've been completely binge free for 10 months and I've lost 12 kilograms, which is about 24 pounds. So I'll just start off when I was a kid. I'll just fix up my camera here. That's better. I'll just start off when I was a kid. I was a fairly normal weight up until I was probably about, I'm gonna say 8. I was a bit chubby. Like before that, I was just normal, totally normal weight. Like you'd see pictures of me and I am kind of almost skinny in some pictures I've noticed. But then when I got a bit older, I sort of just obviously was chubby. I obviously just ate a little bit too much. I was just a bit chubby. I didn't really have that much of a problem with food. It was just literally like having too many calories, like that happens. My mum and dad always ate really, really well. We always had healthy, balanced meals. We would never have junk food in the house. Mum has always been like a kind of a health freak. She's always been really tiny, and you know, any time that she's said that like, oh, you know, I need to lose weight, she literally needs to lose like say 5 kilograms at the most, and even then she's still a healthy weight anyway when she thinks she needs to lose weight. So that's just my mum. So I grew up in a very healthy household and my parents ate wonderful, like really, really well. I guess the only thing is that my dad really likes cake, so maybe like I got a bit of that from him, I don't know. But other than that, really, you know, there was no reason for me to be over consuming. I just was. And then when I was a teenager, I was still sort of overweight. Like I probably needed to lose say like 5 kilograms and I would be considered like healthy BMI. So I wasn't like massively overweight or anything at that stage. This was from about say like when I was say like around 15 to like 17, I was, you know, just a bit overweight. My relationship with food was pretty good. Like obviously I just ate whatever, you know, mum and dad cooked for dinner. I was in control of my lunches though. So like when I was a teenager, I started making my own lunches for school. And I would sort of come home. I know like when I was a kid, just kind of backtracking a little bit here. When I was a kid, I remember like coming home from school and wanting a snack, and instead of having just like a banana or an apple, you know, something that my mum would have said, you know, just have an apple, because she's super healthy. I remember making like those Alfredo things you can make, you know how you can like get those packets, it's like, what's it even called? Mac and cheese or Alfredo packets. I would just like come home, make one of those and eat like a whole thing of one of those. And I mean, I feel like that could probably be like 500 calories just for that. So just those sort of things, like literally just me wanting a snack. But unfortunately the things that I would go to snack on were really high calorie and, you know, high in fat and all that kind of stuff. And obviously I would be having like a normal dinner on top of that. So just kind of that stuff. I didn't really have like a huge issue just making like the wrong choices. And anyway, so back into like my teenage years, I would do the same thing. Like I'd come home from school and I'd probably have a snack that was just kind of, you know, not really that great, and maybe just sort of over consuming just a little bit. And obviously like if you do have too many calories, then you are going to put on weight. Like that's just how it is. So I would come home from school and I'd have like crackers with cheese on it, and put it in the microwave. Like that was like one of my favorite snacks, was like melted cheese on a cracker. So yum. And I still love that kind of stuff, like cheese on crackers and like Alfredo. Like I still like that, but it's just, you know, may as well eat something healthy. Like if you're going to eat something, like you just may as well eat it healthily. So that's kind of how I think now, but obviously that was back then and I was like teenager. Obviously I didn't really understand that much about nutrition. Like I knew that cheese and crackers was not the healthiest option, and I probably thought that like cheese was actually a really bad option, because at the time when I was growing up, I mean, I'm not like that old, I'm like 26, but when I was growing up, the whole thing with like nutrition and like losing weight, it was all about like doing as much cardio as possible and reducing fat. And that was kind of like how people would go about losing weight. Because obviously I feel like these days being into fitness and nutrition is kind of like it's sort of like a popular thing where you share it on social media. You know, you take pictures of your food and you go, oh, look how healthy I'm eating. But when I was growing up, like health people were kind of like, not like mocked, I guess, but it was not like a normal thing for people to be like, you know, look how healthy I am and I've got a healthy lifestyle. It just was not like a normal thing. And anytime, like say when I was a teenager, anytime that I was thinking, gosh, I really want to lose weight, I would just start exercising more, which is great, obviously, but I would never really think to myself, like, I really need to clean up my nutrition. I would just think I need to exercise more. And I remember my mum saying similar things, like when I was younger, I would say to mum, like, I want to lose weight, and she would just say, oh, you just need to be more active, which I really do. Looking back, I wish that I took her advice and just got more into sports and just kind of got over my whole laziness. Like, I was pretty lazy. Of course, I was kind of making wrong choices, but I was also like pretty lazy. I wasn't really into like sports or anything except for horse riding, but you know, unfortunately, I just wasn't really like not involved with that at the time. I might actually have to take this jumper off because it is getting a bit warm. The windows, because like there might be like some wind, and I don't want to mess with the sound right now, because I feel like I hope it's good. I hope it's good. So anyway, so I would have like a few times when I was like a teenager where I was like actively trying to lose weight. One of the diets I tried was body trim. If anyone remembers that from back in the day, body trim was basically like Atkins, I suppose. It was like a low carb, high protein diet, really. And I tried it because like my mum was doing it. And it just sounded really, really good. It was so unhealthy though. Like you eat protein only for the first 3 days. And they say like, you'll lose 3 kilograms in the first 3 days. And you literally just eat protein for 3 days. Like it's so unhealthy. And you eat like every 2 to 3 hours. It's just, looking back, it's like, what the fuck? Because it was so unhealthy. And then I think when you first start, you pass the 3 days, you add carbs to your breakfast. And the other thing about that diet was that they said, like, they were like, look, you can have carrots, but in moderation, because they're high in carbs. It's like, a freaking, are you serious? Like a carrot, a vegetable, is somehow bad? Like, no. So that was one of the things I tried, and I obviously, like, I lost weight with that, and I was really happy. But I was kind of like that. Like I was always around 74 kilograms, like literally, like, and to be healthy, I needed to be 68 kilograms. Like, so I sort of knew like my BMI, I knew like how much I weighed. I feel like because my mum paid attention to her health and weight, I think like that kind of rubbed off on me in a good way though. Like I think if my mum was a big lady, I honestly would have just followed her and I would have been so happy, and I probably would be like huge because my mum was so health conscious, and I sort of wasn't, but I still had that kind of rub off on me where I was thinking like, how much do I weigh? Like I don't want to get too big, you know? So I still had that kind of awareness about it in me. So I was always around 74 kilograms and any, did I say 74? I meant 72. So I was always around 72 kilograms, and every time I would put on a couple of kilograms, I'd think, oh, okay, crap, I need to like, you know, start really making sure I'm not eating too much and just, you know, make sure I'm eating healthily and not get too big. So I was very aware of that for my teenage years. And there were times where I would lose like quite a lot. Like I wouldn't lose like heaps, but I would kind of lose enough to get sort of healthy, and then obviously just kind of go back to how I was eating. So when I was on body trim, I lost some weight, you know, I felt really good. And then I just kind of got off the diet and just started eating how I used to. And then when I was in year 11, so I would have been about 17, I went on a diet because we had the DEB, it's like debutante ball, and I wanted to lose weight for that. So I lost, you know, some kilograms there, and I think I got to like 68 kilograms. I think I maybe got to 69 kilograms. So I was like just about healthy. That was awesome. But then after I did that, because that what I did with that when I was 17 with the Deb, I was just calorie counting, and I was very restrictive about it. And I was like eating less than 1,000 calories a day kind of thing, like really bad restrictive calorie counting, which is why after that I felt I just couldn't do that again, because I was thinking like, how can I do that? Because I'm going to get too strict with it and I'm going to have problems. Like, so after that experience, I was thinking, okay, calorie counting is not for me. So I did have a few times in my teenage years where I was trying to sort of lose weight here and there, but I'd never hated my body. I never like looked at my body in the mirror and thought, I hate how I look. I just wanted to kind of for me, one of the big motivators has always been clothes. Like, it was more about just wanting to wear certain clothes and just to be a bit more comfortable, not necessarily like actually hating how I looked. Anyway, fast forward to year 12. Year 12 is like senior year, I guess, for Americans. It's when you're 18, you're in your last year of high school. When I was in year 12, I was very stressed. Like, oh my God, I was so stressed with like exams, with the, what are they called? I think they were called like SAT tests. I can't even remember what they were called, but they were like these tests that counted towards your enter score, like your final grade for the year. And that score would get you into, you know, a course like at uni. So it was like very stressful to be working towards something that is going to determine like the rest of your life. And at least that's how they put it anyway. Like when you're at school, the teachers put so much pressure on you, and they'll be like, seriously, you need to take this so seriously, and like this is going to determine the rest of your life and things like that, which is horrible to hear when you're that young, because like, you know, it's not true. You know. Anyway, so I was so stressed, and I developed this thing where, because I started driving at sort of the end of the year, like around October, like exams are starting. That's when I actually got my license to drive. Yes, it was awesome, but it meant that, of course, I was driving myself to school. And I was driving myself home. So when, after a long day at school, really bloody so stressed, I would go through the drive-thru. And this is just something that I kind of developed because it's like I could do it. Like, I was driving myself, so why not just, you know, treat myself to like a burger every time I go home. So I would go through the drive-thru, get my takeaway, go home, sit on the couch, you know, just eat, you know, have my snack, which would be like a burger and like chips, whatever, like something from Hungry Jack's. And then I'd be like, okay, now I do my homework. So it was kind of like a way for me to relax. Like, I just get home and just like watch some TV and just eat mindlessly and just relax. So that's how I sort of developed this stress eating. The other thing that happened when I was in year 12 was I would ask mum for junk food. And that's the thing, as I said before, like my mum's very healthy and she would never buy junk food, like ever. We never had junk food in the house. Like, thank God. Can I just get like a, you know, shout out to my mum, because like, seriously, if it wasn't for her, I would be huge. Like, I would be huge. But yeah, since I was in year 12, my mum was very like understanding and like lenient. And if I said like, oh my God, like, can we please get like chips or something? Like, I just like love some chips when I study. She would get them because she would just be thinking like, let's just get you through this year. Because she understood how stressful it was, because she went through the same thing with my sister, my older sister, a couple years before. So mum was very like accommodating. Like, if I asked for like certain foods, like she'd just get it. Like, she wouldn't say like no, which is not her fault at all. She was just trying to be like as understanding and supportive and just trying to help me through the year, because it's very, very stressful. So shout out to anyone who's in year 12. It's horrible. Eating that junk food, I did put on weight. I'm just trying to think now, because I remember at the start of the year I was trying to lose weight, and of course when I started year 12 that all went to hell. When I first started year 12, I was eating pretty healthily. I was going to fix up my phone here. I was eating pretty healthily, but then after like probably a month, I was just like, oh fucking hell, it's so stressful. So at the start of the year, I would have been like 74 kilograms. As I said, I was always around 72. So I was probably around 74 kilograms at the start of the year. And then by the time the end of the year, I was 80, I think I was 85. That's roughly, I was about 85 kilograms. So from start of the year, in January. This is 2010, by the way. It's quite a while ago now, fuck. I was 74 and then I was like, say 75. So I basically put on like, say, 10 kilograms the whole year, which for me is a lot. Like, just to think how I'd like maintained, I'd sort of put on a few kilograms and then like I'd lose some, so like to put on 10 kilograms was like a fuck ton for me. I felt so uncomfortable, like to go from like 74 kilograms to 80, like 5 or whatever I was. I was so uncomfortable, like, and I put it on so quickly. I had stretch marks. I had a couple of stretch marks before I put on that weight, just a couple though, like around my hips, probably like pretty normal, like puberty ones, but these ones were huge and they were on my tummy, and they were just because I put on so much weight. So I was very self-conscious of those, and of course I just felt so uncomfortable. We went on schoolies like the following year, which is just when anyone doesn't know what schoolies is, it's basically like when you go on a holiday with your friends and you celebrate the end of school. We went on schoolies. Most people go in November, but we went in February because we're like alternative to the Gold Coast. It was so much fun, but I felt so uncomfortable. It was so humid and horrible, but also I was so overweight and I just felt I was not used to being that big. I was not used to it. I felt disgusting and just like, oh, it was horrible. So that totally ruined my schoolies like holiday. It was horrible. And then I started uni. So 2011, started uni like right after I pretty much got back from the schoolies holiday, started uni. Uni, okay, that's like a whole different chapter now, because when I started uni, I was not ready to be independent, like to be by myself, to be totally in control. Because that's the thing, when I was living at home, I was, I guess, in charge of like my breakfast and lunch, but I still had to have a healthy meal. Like I still had to sit down with my family every night, have a healthy, balanced dinner. And I wasn't getting that at uni. Like at uni, we would get one meal. I think it was like Monday to Friday. You get one meal at the cafe every like day. It was like one dinner, I think. It was not on the weekends. I think it was only on Monday to Friday. So I would do that with my friend like most at the start. But by the time like I was there for a couple of months, that sort of started fading away. Like I stopped going to the caf because probably, I guess I was kind of like withdrawing a lot. I was really not doing well with uni. I found my course really difficult and I was so like, I just became so reserved, and it's really weird to explain because I was so reserved. It was really hard for me to kind of like put myself out there. I just became kind of shy. I think there was a point where I felt like it was too late for me to make friends, so I just didn't try anymore, which is such a shame. But it was kind of a combination of things, like living with people I didn't know because I obviously was living on campus. Of course, I was doing a Bachelor of Science, which I found really hard. Like I had to do like physics and chemistry. I love biology, but I hated the chemistry and the physics. It was so hard for me. So I just felt like I was, I was just struggling. Like I just felt everything so overwhelming. I'm so sorry if I'm getting like really red right now because it's just getting warm in here. And the car's in the sun. And I just really don't want to open a window because I feel like it's gonna, you'll hear like wind or something. I don't know. I might just open a window and just see, because just for my own health, I've just opened just two cracks in these windows. This is where my binging began. To deal with the stress of uni, like my first year of uni, to deal with that stress, I started to binge eat. I stopped going to the caf with my friend, and I would basically eat like once a day. I would sleep in really late into the day, and I would go out at like nighttime. I would get so much food. I'd always have like chips and like Tim Tams, like chocolatey things in my room. But I would go out and I would get like takeaway. I remember like I would go to KFC and I would literally like get one of those like family meals, like those like big share buckets. I would get like a family meal that cost like say $30, and eat it all by myself. Like a lot of fucking food. I would go to Hungry Jack's and I would get like 4 burgers. I would get so much food, like onion rings, fries. I always had a huge supply of Pepsi Max. I still love Pepsi Max, but like that was like pretty much all I was drinking, which is like horrible. Like I would drink hardly any water, pretty much only Pepsi Max. I was just so incredibly unhealthy, but like and that's the thing, I would save up like, this is something that like binge eaters tend to do, is that they save up their calories for their binge. So like the whole day they don't eat, and then they have this like massive binge. So that's when that started, because I would think like, you know, oh, I won't go to the caf, I'll just wait until like later, and then I'll go out and I'll get like takeaway. So that's definitely for sure like when it started, and it basically happened from the stress. I think like I was already kind of a stress eater because I sort of developed that when I was in year 12. So going to uni and just finding all these things so overwhelming, it just, yeah, it basically got even worse. I would go home to see my parents like pretty much every weekend, most weekends for sure. And then I would have like a healthy meal with them. And I feel like that's kind of how I survived, because like that's like my only time I would get any vegetables, anything healthy. So it was really bad. And one of the times I went home, one of the weekends I went home, I weighed myself and I was 94 kilograms and I was shook. I was like, holy crap. I'd put on another 10 kilograms pretty much. And it was just like, oh my God. And I didn't even realize, like, because when I put on the 10 kilograms in year 12, like the previous year, I was like, holy crap, I'm so uncomfortable. And it was just so to me to be that weight. But putting on the next 10 kilograms, I didn't even notice. Like, I actually did not notice like that I put on that much weight, and did not notice feeling different or uncomfortable. So that really freaked me out. Seeing that number, I was like, holy crap. And I remember like that year, I remember one of the weekends I went home, and I remember my dad saying to me, like, he didn't really say like, look, you're like really fat. He didn't say that. He just was sort of like, look, you know, we can help you, like if you need help with your health. And I really appreciate that. And it's just like one of the things you think of and think, God, I wish I could appreciate, you know, I wish I could have appreciated that at the time. He was saying like, you know, we can help you with a gym membership if you need one. Like, I think, you know, he was saying like, the uni has that gym, so you could go there. And like looking back now, it's like, oh, you know, why didn't I just like be like, yes, please help me? But of course I had the binge eating, and I didn't really understand about binge eating. I didn't even think, you know, I'm binging. I didn't even know what I was doing. Like, I did not even know. Like, I was just like addicted to the food. That was kind of a really like shitty year. And then like the following year after that, what happened was I was still studying, but I got into an abusive relationship. And this is like a really tricky part of my life, because it's something that I look back on and think, how did that even happen? Like, I can't even believe that happened to me, because I'm just a totally different person. But being in this relationship, this person was like abusive in every way possible you can think of, physically, verbally, emotionally, mentally, just every sort of thing you can think of. He was that. It was horrible, and obviously, like, you know, it was another thing that caused me to binge. And I guess like that part of my life, in terms of my binge eating, I mean, you can just imagine like what it would have done to my binge eating. Obviously, like, you know, already having that binge eating problem and being with someone who, you know, says like, oh, you're so fat, and they're like, these people, this person is meant to like love you and be like your partner, your boyfriend or whatever, and, you know, to be like saying, you know, just saying like, oh, you should eat healthier and stuff. It's like, well, you know, why are you with me? Why don't you go off and find someone who eats healthy then? You know what I mean? It's like, at the time I was just like, yes, I really want to eat healthy, and you just, at the time, you just think that you want to please them. You this is the person you love, and you just want them to be happy. And when they say things like that, you sort of think like, yes, you're right, you know, but of course now it's like, well, leave me, you asshole. Like, anyway, I'd rather just like skip over that chapter, but it definitely like has a role in the binge eating, because when you are in an abusive relationship, you can't work on yourself. You can't have any reflective time, because you are always in survival mode. You are never able to just sit down and think, you know what, I really need to start looking after myself. I really need to start eating healthy. You do not have time to think about yourself. All you're thinking is, how am I going to survive the next day, the next afternoon, the next hour? You are living like hour to hour, and you do not know if you're going to get through it. It is like hell. If you are in an abusive relationship, I'm going to put some links in the description below for Australia. I might look up for other countries. So sorry if like you're in a different country. The links will be down below if you're in an abusive relationship. And I'm also going to put the Lifeline number in the description below because I'm talking about pretty heavy things right now. So yeah. Fuck that, right? That arsehole. Anyway, so obviously like I could not work on the binge eating because I was with him, and as I said, you can't work on yourself when you're in an abusive relationship. It's just not going to happen. So after I got out of it, I had a baby. So I had my daughter, which like, you know, I love her, love my daughter, you know. So I was a mum, you know, I left him, which was amazing. I was so happy. I moved back in with my parents. I was super happy. You know, I had my daughter, like they loved her right away. Like they just welcomed us with open arms. And I just finally had the time to work on myself. So I did start trying to lose weight. So I think it was about 6 months, and I was very dedicated to losing weight. It was a very slow process because I was calorie counting, and I wasn't really thinking like about nutrition. I was just kind of thinking about calories again. So I wasn't really like up to speed with counting calories, with eating healthily. And about 6 months into my weight loss journey, then I just totally gave up. Because like the binge eating was still a problem. Like I was just thinking I wanted to lose weight. I wasn't thinking, actually, you know what, I should work on my binge eating, because that's actually the real problem. So I think I remember like one day, I was like sitting down. I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna have some of those shapes, because we had like shapes for some reason in the house. And I thought, you know, I'm just gonna sit down and eat those, because I haven't had shapes in so long. I just want some. And I just remember thinking, these are so good. Like, fuck eating healthy and fuck losing weight, because I'm just gonna eat these and like fuck it. And that's basic. And that was pretty much like, I think it was like 2 years of just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna eat like whatever I want. Yes, later that year I moved out of my parents' house, and I found a house for myself and my daughter, my baby. So we're living on our own again, and it was really hard for me to go from like living with my parents to living by myself, like full on. Like the first time I was living by myself, it was kind of a difficult transition. So I was having to obviously just cook everything, every single thing myself, do every single thing by myself. So that was kind of a learning process. I think at that point it was sort of cycles of binging. It wasn't really like as severe as it had been in the past, but it was definitely a way for me to cope with things. And it sort of became about just coping with parenting, because I'm someone I'm not a natural parent. Like I do not naturally take to babies and kids. I think like I can sort of naturally take to babies and kids sometimes and be good with kids, sort of. I think I can. But in terms of actually parenting, I hate parenting so much. Like there's a big difference between like talking to kids and like engaging with them and, you know, being good with them, right? Than to actually parent someone. Like it is so hard. And I hate it. I still hate parenting. I love my daughter, hate parenting. A way for me to cope with how difficult that was is obviously to binge eat, because like that's how I dealt with things, by eating. So for about say 2 years, I was just pretty much doing that. I'd go through stages where I was like, oh, I don't want to binge eat anymore. Like I don't want to be fat. You know, I want to lose weight. I would sort of I'd be motivated, try for like a day or maybe a week, and then just give up. So it was really, really hard for me. There were times where I would like be like, okay, I'm really eating healthy now. Like we're really serious about this. And I would be eating healthy. I also joined a gym that year because there was a local gym that had like free childcare. So I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And that's when I discovered this love of exercise, which I never had before, which was amazing. I fell in love with yoga and like Pilates. I also really loved their boot camps. But yoga and Pilates was my favorite. Pretty much any sort of class, group like class thing I loved, because you just show up, you just do it, and that's your workout. You don't really have to think. So I just fell in love with that. I wasn't really eating like that great, but my fitness was improving. Like it was really good, and I really like loved, you know, noticing that I was getting stronger and things like that. Like it was really nice. So that's when I sort of developed this love of fitness. And there were also times where I would kind of be on a bit of a health kick and think I'm going to eat healthy as well. And I would buy like salmon and things. And basically like I would sort of try and cook things and be like, it sort of like ruin the meal, burn stuff. And I'd be like, oh God, I'm stupid. And like, I can't even cook right. And that would just turn me off eating healthily because I just didn't really know how to cook it properly. Or I would kind of make mistakes in the kitchen and it wouldn't taste good, things like that. So I would just think like, oh, well, you know, give up because it's just too hard to learn how to cook. It doesn't taste good, la la la. So that sort of turned me off eating healthy a lot of the time as well. Anyway, sort of just like fast forward. I think I can fast forward now where last year I was at my absolute heaviest. I was 110 kilograms. And to me, that is huge. Like that is humongous to me. I got to a point where I wasn't even enjoying the binging anymore. Like literally, like obviously like no one enjoys binging, but when you're actually there, you can at least enjoy the taste of like what you're eating for a second anyway. But I got to the point where I was literally like, I'm not even enjoying this. Like I'm bored of it. I've eaten so many chips and chocolatey things that I'm literally bored of it and I'm sick of it and I'm just like, nah. And that was a moment where I was like, I'm actually addicted to this because like I'm at the point now where I don't even like it, but I feel I have these urges. I have these like triggers and urges to binge. I think I'm addicted. So I definitely got to that point. So that was in November last year. And I basically said to myself, okay, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to binge eat anymore. I'm sick of it. And I haven't binged since. So, and what I did was I focused on the binge eating, and then I got to a point where I could focus on not overeating. To me, like binge eating, overeating, and overconsuming are totally different things. Binge eating, obviously, you just lose total control. Overeating and overconsuming, you have control. Overeating is when you just eat too much food. Like, you know, you had, some pasta, you had some of this, some that, and you just ate too much. Like that happens to a lot of people on Christmas, on Eid, on Thanksgiving if you're American. It happens to everybody, and it might even happen like once a month when you're with friends catching up. It happens, right? And then over-consuming is when you literally just go over like the amount of calories for the day. Like you might be just like 100 calories over or like 20 calories over. You've just had too much. Portions were a bit too big. You had that snack you just didn't need. You overconsumed. You were totally in control, and overeating, you're in control too. On Christmas, you can easily eat like 5,000 calories, and everyone eats that much. It's pretty much normal, and it's nothing actually wrong with that. You know, like it's once a year. It's not really a big deal, and you're in control. It's not like you're like, oh, nom, 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 nom. You are not like that. You're not the Cookie Monster. You are just like, oh, how delicious is this food? And you're just enjoying your time. You're eating off platters, and you're not even thinking. You're just eating and drinking, and everyone does it. It's normal, and you're in control. Binge eating, you're not in control. I was able to focus on just overeating, and at the moment, I'm just focusing on over-consuming. So I'm just kind of focusing on those like behaviors with food. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, you know, I'm pretty confident that I'm never going to binge again. And I'm so happy. As I said, I lost 12 kilograms. I went from 110 kilograms in November and at the start of the year because I put on weight during Christmas. Totally normal. So at the start of the year, I was 110 kilograms. Now I'm 98 kilograms. Yay. So stop binge eating forever. Completely quit binge eating. And I've lost 12 kilograms. And I'm so happy. Yay. Anyway, that's my binge eating story. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe if you're interested in following me on this journey. I'm trying to lose how much do I have to lose? I think it's like another 38 kilograms. I'm not sure how much that is in pounds. I'll put that up right here. But yeah, please like and comment. Tell me like how you're going with if you're on a weight loss journey, if you're trying to stop binge eating. Put your tips below if you have any tips to quit binge eating forever. And please subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.